Hi there, Karen Flaherty here from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today and happy Halloween. It's just the sun is just about setting and it's in my eyes, so I'm going to go into the slides. Today we're talking about the Gate 44, which is the gate of alertness or coming to greet. It's all about meeting people. Okay, so this week we've got the sun in gate 44. It started early this morning, October 31st. It goes until about midday on November 5th. And we've also got the earth in the gate 24, which is called rationalization. So we've got the sun in gate 44, which comes off the spleen. It's another spleen gate, another fear gate, right? And then the 24 is up here, which is already in Uranus. And so it's kind of double this week in the gate of rationalization. 44 we'll talk about in a minute, but that's called coming to greet or alertness. It's about meeting new people and finding new people and bringing them into generally your business, but it's also about other friends and family too. So we start the week again with this continued definition in the 2034. So again, the throat and the sacral are all filled in and defined, and it's interesting to see if you're feeling them or not. I've certainly been feeling them, at least in the throat. And then we've got the channel of awareness again, which is in the 6124, because the 61's in Pluto and the 24, as I said, is in both Uranus and the Earth this week. That's the gate of rationalization. And that starts the week. So, and some of the planets are still retrograde. That's Uranus and Neptune, and they'll be changing in a few weeks. And then we've got the as we move further into the week, by Friday, Venus moves into the gate 10, which is called the love of the self. And that's right here off the G center. And so it makes an interesting configuration here. The 2034 is already defined. We add in the 10, and then what we get are two, we get the G center defined, which is the center for love and identity and direction. And then that creates basically two different channels, but as you can see, it's a lot of definition: head, ajna, throat, G, and sacral. So if any of those are open for you, you might feel that energy this week, and all those stay until we change over on Saturday. And then I'll give you the update. So with the sun in gate 44, we've got, and the earth in gate 24, we've got so 44 is called alertness or coming to meet. They call it, they say it's the success of any interaction that's based on the absence of any precondition. So basically it's about meeting people. It's about bringing people into you, kind of attracting them in a way, or going out to meet them. Either way, it's any way that you have new interactions is appropriate. Now, what they say, what Richard Rudd says in the Gene Keys, and the way he describes it, is that we're all here to meet our fractal. We're all here to meet, if you've ever seen those configurations of snowflakes or different kinds of things that move around. I meant to have a visual of it, but maybe I'll do that next time. We are all part of a human fractal, and the people that we meet, the people that are in our family, in our friends, in our, communities, in our groups, but the people that we interact with, the people that we feel good with, those are the people that are in our fractal, our human fractal. And so when we're meeting them, and all of a sudden you meet somebody and it feels really good, that's an indication that they're in your fractal, that they're really supposed to be part of your life, that all of a sudden there's an immediate bond. And because it comes off the spleen, you can trust that feeling. The spleen is all about survival. It's all about keeping us healthy and keeping us safe. And so if you meet somebody and it feels good, then they are supposed to be in your life for a little bit, maybe for longer, maybe for a while. But any of those conditions are correct as long as you feel good when you meet them. Now, if you don't feel good when you meet them, of course, then that's somebody that you don't need to continue the conversation with or invite into your life somehow. In this week, the incarnation crosses are called the cross of the four ways, which I always think of as travel, but it has some other meanings too. It's alertness and incarnation. And then the gate 24 is rationalization, and that's just kind of what it sounds like. Comes off the top of the ajna, and it is part of our thinking process. So it's part of how we make decisions, right? The information comes in through the head, it gets processed in the ajna, and we get to figure out whether something works or not. What's the balance? What what's the what are the pros and cons of it? Now, it's not a place to make decisions, but it is a place to rationalize. So if you make a decision from your regular decision-making authority, whether it's the gut or if you're a manifester, it's informing others and then making a decision. Actually, manifestors can make the decision from their head. But for the rest of us, we pretty much have to wait for something. Projectors are waiting for an invitation, and reflectors are waiting even a little longer. But any of us go through a rationalization process, right? When we're thinking about how to do something, where to do something, how, when to do something. And so here it's rationalization or the return in the original I Ching. And so they call it the natural and spontaneous process of transformation and renewal, right? Because it's about processing that information and transforming something or renewing something. And the Gene Keys, addiction is the shadow, invention is the gift, and silence is actually the CD. And so if we look here, we've got for the gate 44, the shadow is interference, the gift is teamwork, and the CD is synarchy. What Richard says in the graphic is no one in a synarchy is above anyone else, because at all times there is an awareness of the group's inherent oneness. So it's really about, synarchy is in the way he's thinking about it, is the opposite of anarchy. So in anarchy, we have chaos, right? And basically no one in control. In synarchy, we have someone usually in some kind of control, but it's a shared control. It's a coordinated control or coordinated governance, basically. I read an article this week about what do they call it? Co-housing. It was in the New York Times, and there are actually hundreds of co-housing, either apartment buildings or housing complexes where people are coming together to live. Sometimes, a lot of times single mothers, but sometimes with couples and families, and they're all coming together to live in ways so that they can share meals and childcare and other things that it might be difficult for people to manage, especially in a pandemic, right? And so people are coming together in these pods and groups that allow them to be together. But it's an interesting idea. They've been doing it in Europe for lots of years, well, at least in Denmark since the 60s. And it seems to work over there. So people are trying it here. So this shadow is an interference. By interference, he means that there are ways in which we keep ourselves from interacting with the people that we should be interacting with. In other words, some of us just do it in a haphazard way, right? We just we find a job, we get plopped in with a group of people that we may or may not like, or may not have anything in common with, and yet you're working together. And so that's not necessarily a good fit sometimes for people. And it's, to be honest, why a lot of people are probably leaving their jobs right now, because they have found themselves in places where there's some interference. Think of it as static, right? They're static in the workplace. They're static in people's lives because their work is just not coherent for them. It's not, maybe it's not part of their purpose. Maybe it's not fulfilling. Maybe it's not comfortable for them in some way. Maybe they have a boss that they don't like. There are lots of different ways that interference can occur in a job, right? The gift is teamwork. And I'll just say, and one more thing about interference. Interference can be on the shadow side. It can be the kind of thing where, we try a job, we try another job, perhaps we even try a third job, and nothing seems to work. It just, none of those seem comfortable, and you give up, right? So you wind up somebody in the job for 20, 25 years, and then they retire, and it's like, well, how was that? Well, it really was horrible. I can't wait to retire. And then other people might try different things and keep trying different things, right? And so they cop from one to another, and yet they bring themselves with them, and so they keep. It's the same story over and over and over again. So with the first one, it's the same story, and yet they wind up stopping. And with the other one, they just go to one relationship or one job or one career after another, and still they're not happy because they're not waiting to see what it is that really makes sense to them, what feels good for their spleen, and what is good for them overall. So then the gift of teamwork is where you're moving into something where you actually, it does feel good and you can work with these people and you do enjoy it. And here he says, these are people whose genius is to read other people. And so they're actually moving into places where the work and the people feel good. And then he also says, as the universe awakens, the interference is gradually cleared and the synarchy that lies beneath emerges. And so then we get to move into places where it actually feels good to be with, whether it's family or friends or workplace or entrepreneurial endeavors, any of that feels good to us. And then you found your fractal, right? You found the people that you're supposed to be with. And the more you do that, the better it feels. So we've got a few people and a few blanks. I actually couldn't find a lot of people. Sorry, I forgot to fill those in. But we got this writing across the four ways, alertness and incarnation. Some people that were here are Marie Antoinette, Toni Collette's an actress, Matthew McConaughey, Tim Cook, for example. You know, he's at Apple. He's risen in the ranks. He's found some good people, right, to work at Apple. He's actually pretty determined in the way he works. And so that's, you know, an interesting example of somebody who can be in the workplace, find people who actually love what they do and keep them happy. Puff Daddy, John Keats, the poet, Jane Pauley, Michael Landon. And this week in history, we've got a number of things happening today. Happened to be in October 31st in 1517, Martin Luther nails his 95 Theses to the door of the church at Wittenberg in Germany. And that started the Protestantism revolt, or really the start of Protestantism as a religion and philosophy in Europe. And in 1952, the United States exploded the first thermonuclear weapon, which was the hydrogen bomb in the Pacific. The BBC started in 1936. In 1964, Washington, D.C. residents got the vote. And in 1969, the PBS, the U.S. version of public broadcasting started. And then in 1979, at the embassy in Tehran, this was the start, November 4th, of the hostages being taken, which, if you recall, went into January of 1980, or I'm sorry, 1981, after Reagan, or as Reagan was inaugurated. And then in 1995, Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated. So this could be a week that it might be interesting to meet people, to hire people, to look for new people, to find somebody, you know, for a specific role that you're looking for in your company, or your, you know, even at home, if you're looking for a vendor or somebody, a craftsman, somebody to work at home, or to work in your home, it might be an interesting week to do that. It's that kind of energy. You will be looking for somebody who can meet your needs, right? And somebody who feels good to you. So concentrate on the feeling good part of it, and think about the things you need to do to get through that, perhaps, because it is, again, one of the fear gates. The fear here is the fear of the past, that maybe you've done it incorrectly in the past. And so that you get to think about how you want to do it going forward, and do it, you know, in a more easy or graceful or elegant way. So have a great week. Enjoy your Halloween. And if you're out and about and you're having parties, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Thanks.